And he was frustrated. When am I going to get my shot? 24 hours later, Ricciardo did his wrist in. You're up. I've been asked, am I ready? He's like, yes.
Yeah.
Shaking his head.
Ollie Bearman, Lawson, at the race weekend, what's your main role?
I'll teach them the skills that they need to go pro.
Yeah. On Ollie Bearman.
Yeah, he's fast. And in his first F1 test, he was quicker than people have been driving it all year. I'm just going to say that.
Hi, and welcome back to BackSeat Drivers Podcast, hosted by yours truly, Gustav Burton, and your co-host,
Jordan Albert.
Is it that way or that way?
I don't know, one of them. Hello everyone, welcome back to BackSeat Drivers. Today we have an epic guest in the form of Enzo Mucci.
Hello everybody. Thank you.
Welcome.
A round of applause.
So tell us and our viewers who you are, what you've done, who are you?
Okay, right. You know me well because we've worked together, both of you. I started off as a driver back in the 90s, so some time ago now. And halfway through my driving, which was only about 5 or 6 years, I started to get into coaching, mental coaching, life coaching. Brought onto that path sort of like with John Pratt, who gave me that kind of insight. And he introduced me to the power of, I think it's human performance and the power of the mind and how you can get the best out of yourself. And I was hooked. I applied it straight away to the drive-in and then actually quite quickly started to research it and got into coaching people outside the sport. And from then, so the early 2000s, I've been pretty much coaching personal performance for race drivers. And that's taken me on a journey for going up to the F1 programs where they obviously talent scout and train the drivers there. So it started with Gravity. I don't know if you remember Gravity. It was basically a driver development program that actually invested in drivers. So they owned the property of a driver, like a racehorse.
And then got a return if they made
Grosjean
money.
was our first one, I think. D'Ambrosio, who you might remember. He used to go to iZone. We went to iZone. And Esteban Ocon. So they came from that. So I started working with them boys there when they were in the juniors.
Okay.
And up we went. And then it's just been that kind of realm since then. Did a bit of iZone, as you know. Worked with you boys there. Mm-hmm. And now it's back into the F2, F3 category, just preparing them for F1.
And the current drivers you've managed or are managing are names like Liam Lawson, Ollie Bearman, Sophia Flörsch?
Yeah, well, I work with her management company. Okay. So basically I'm like head of performance for their performance area for that, whoever manages them. So yeah, quite a few there. But then I do most of mine now actually online. So I only really go with Ollie Bearman to the races.
Yeah.
Liam, if he gets the call up.
Yeah.
Hopefully he will this year at some point. And that's it. So I'm really cutting down on the traveling.
Talk to us about your kind of role with, some of the drivers you've mentioned. So Ollie Bearman, Liam Lawson, at the race weekend, what's your main role?
It's kind of like having me in their corner as such. So say, if you want to put it quite blatantly, I'll teach them the skills that they need to go pro. And that starts obviously when they're really young, and you build them up with the belief system, the kind of skills they need, people skills, driving the team, the mental skills of how to overcome, and performance on demand, as you boys know. That area is pretty much never stops. And when the pressure comes, because every single year, I'd say, from F3 upwards, you're told as a driver, this is your most important year, make or break. So they have to deal with that, whilst in that environment, things don't go well.
Yeah.
It's not exactly, they're both not nice cars to drive, F2, F3.
How come?
They're a bit, like Euro Formula, how it used to be like a mini F1, F3. F2 used to be GP2, which was like a mini F2, but these things are like, they're different now. They're heavy cars. And they're all one make.
F2 and F3.
You can't do much with
Your cars are awful.
Yeah. It's just one make series, right?
Yeah.
And the engineers can only do so much.
Is there any difference in the new car from feedback from Ollie?
It's similar feeling.
Okay.
Completely different way getting there. So it's like more aero now. It's like a big wing.
Right.
You've got underfloor,
Yeah.
where you didn't have that before, but it feels the same, they say. And the lap times are pretty similar. I think like 4/10 quicker they were last week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a car they've all gone that way, like the F4s. Might as well shit on everyone, right?
Yeah.
It's just the way racing's gone. They're not these expensive dynamic cars that you can throw money at anymore. They're pretty off the shelf and go with it.
Well, it's already a ridiculously expensive sport anyway. I mean, F2, we're talking like 2 million-ish to be in.
It's just a bidding war. You can pay whatever you want.
Yeah.
It won't be under 2, I don't think. But you can go up to 2.6 if you really want to get your checkbook out. It is bonkers now. But what gets me is how busy the grids are. So everything's expensive. You've got Formula Regionals now. Actually, no. The one that's really impressive is people spending $1 million on F4.
Yeah.
Because testing.
No way.
Yeah. Testing. What was it when you did it?
Back in 2014, 2015, I mean, people weren't spending more than probably 200K a year.
Nice. That'll get you the UAE Championship now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that'll get you that. Then you've got 40, 50 days of testing. Then it's probably 5, 6 for the actual championship itself. Then you're done. Then you got coaches and all that stuff, management. Wow. So yeah, it's a lot of cash.
So we'll circle back to the Formula One. I want to talk to you later on about Liam Lawson, Ollie Bearman, etc. But on the subject of that, of funding, again, it's been a topic in pretty much all of our episodes because it is a topic in racing. The more money you have, the more driving you can do, the more successful you're going to be. Talk to us about, you were in that very position of not having much money, I understand, when you were younger, wanting to break into racing. Parents, from what I understand from your socials, weren't particularly enthusiastic about that idea. How did you even start? Hello! Before you listen to the next interesting piece of information from whatever guest we currently have on, I'd like to inform you that this is not an advert, but if you'd like to become a racing driver, listen to Jordan Albert.
So if you want to become a racing driver like some of our lovely guests, and you're not really sure how to start because it seems like you need a lot of money and family connections that know the industry, etc. Well, now you have the perfect opportunity to prove you have what it takes. And on a completely level playing field, that's why we've created Forsetti. Forsetti is an online platform that guides you on how to start your racing driver journey and helps you develop your skills to climb up the ladder. We host time attacks every single week. And if you're the fastest driver, we put you straight into a car and integrate you in an established esports team racing against some of the best talent in the world. So if you think you're the best thing since sliced bread and you have what it takes, make sure to sign up at forsettirace.com. Link is also in the description. Back to the podcast.
It took me a while, actually. That's why I was about 17 when I actually did start. Did a bit of karting indoor, so you go there, pay your 20 quid.
Yeah.
Like, I love this, watching F1 and all that. And just miles away. So to give you a background, my dad moved over in the 60s. He was 18 from Italy. He's just a farmer.
That where the cool name comes from?
Mario. He's Mario, I'm Enzo.
Right,
and he's got a moustache and everything like that.
Yeah.
He set up a pizza shop, so he's completely typical Italian. Yeah. Works really hard, obviously. Mum's a Brummie.
Yeah.
They met, obviously.
Perfect mix, that.
Yeah, it's great. Enzo with a Brummie accent.
Yeah, fantastic.
So they met, and then I was born, in Redditch. Nice music.
Sorry, we're the worst like DJs.
Just flick that switch on the left side.
Which one?
That one, yeah.
That one?
So, yeah, no, the other one.
Am I going to turn the audio
screensaver
off?
or something?
Okay, sorry about that, Enzo.
Carry on, sorry.
So I was born in Redditch into a council estate. So I was really, it wasn't a wealthy lifestyle. And he built the business up. We got to kind of, I'd say middle class, but still nothing to do with racing. You couldn't afford that. So we lived in a nice detached house now. Lived life, delivered pizzas for my dad. And then I got the bug of I want to be a race driver. And all I did was worked in a factory, became a mechanic. I just did all sorts of different jobs to kind of save the money. And that took 2 years to buy a car. Bought a Formula Ford, got a bank loan.
How old are you at this
drivers.
point?
I think I was 17 then.
Okay, so really young still.
Yeah. Probably started at 16, but I didn't get on the track till 17. Bought a Formula Ford for like $4,000.
Yeah.
That was it. Just go.
And that was from a bank loan.
It was everything. So it was bank loan, my money. So I probably saved up 15.
How did you get a bank loan to say, hey, I want to buy?
You did actually.
Really?
Then. Oh no, to buy a car.
Oh, right. Okay, right.
I did anything to get the money. Got the money together, borrowed a trailer, stuck it on the back of the car, and just drove it to the tracks and did club racing. So I did that for a year, won that championship in the second year, did half a season of F3 with the secondary F3 championship, then British GTs and stuff like that. But basically, I just had to hustle. And I couldn't aim too high. So I think I spent actually thinking about it the first year dreaming of Formula Vauxhall Junior, which was a thing then.
Yeah.
100 and something grand to do, talking to the teams, trying to get sponsorship, but it just wasn't working. And then I thought, right, I just need to race anything.
Yeah.
And that's what I still preach now.
Yeah.
It's just start. Just go and race lawnmowers if you have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be the sexy championships.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because there's a lot of, there's people that, listen to us to this podcast that sometimes want to know how to even start.
Yeah,
right. And they maybe see their peers in esports that are going into F4, Formula Regional, F3. And it's like, oh, if I'm not doing that, I can't ever be a driver. It's like, it's very easy to just think that's the only path. But if you're like in your position, what you did well is you just race whatever you could,
anything
with any sort of money. And that's what people need to do. Even if it's a Ford Fiesta or it's just rental karting, just get out there, do what you can do, and try and build an image as well. You can still document your stuff, even if you're just doing club level stuff. That's
it's
what
totally affordable. I'm going to say it's affordable. It's 20k, right, to do MX5 for the year. I'm sure that most of us can come up with a way, even if it takes 4 years to save up, to hustle their way to afford 20k and get like 10 sponsors giving 100 quid each. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I'm sure they can do it. So I don't think there's any excuse. I think you spend more money on the helmet and overalls.
I'm sure if you wanted to, you're very unlikely to get someone to say, here's 20 grand for a title sponsorship for Mazda MX-5. Just not really realistic unless you've got some very rich friends.
Yeah.
But you could get a lot of people to put in, like you said, 500 quid, maybe $1,000 if you're lucky.
Just do the math.
And it would really help. But so say if I'm sat in front of you, I'm 15, 16 years old, and I'm saying to you, look, it's impossible to start racing for me. I can't get the sponsorship. I love it. I want this to be my career, but it's, not a reality. My family doesn't have money. I can't get the sponsorship. I don't have the contacts, all of the excuses.
Yep.
What would you sit here and say?
I'd just walk them through and say, copy what I did and what all these other people do. It's like find the cheapest. I mean, the Fiestas is probably even cheaper than that, right? I think patience is something they lack because they want it now. They're not willing to work for 2 years. And so I've got to start 2 years later. I'm never going to make it. We haven't got the money. So just graft, and actually probably beat it more than 10 years, or less than 2 years, sorry. You graft, you save, you wash cars, you do anything you can. I mean, now it's even easier, right, with the internet.
Yeah.
You can see on Facebook Marketplace, just scroll down. Oh, there's something for sale. It could be anything, old laptop or anything, a desk. And you just go and pick it up for free, go and sell it for 20 quid. Just hustle like that every day.
Yeah.
And it won't take long.
Yeah.
You got to sell a lot of tables for a 20 quid profit, but people are earning money like that now. So I don't think there's any excuse now to not earn money. So I think it's not an excuse because you do feel stuck, right? You're like, I can't get the money to race, it's up there. But actually, right, do the math. 20k. I spoke to all the teams, that's what I can get away with. And I think it is still 20k, right? I'm sure they can reverse engineer that, say, right, I need to earn 500 quid a month. And I can do it. Extra.
Yeah.
Of course. They can do it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Don't get a bank loan, though. Because, luckily, I got the car for like 4.
Yeah.
It did all right, top 10. Sold it for $1,000 more. So I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Even though I spent more than that on it.
Absolutely.
It was a shed, though. It was literally like Cool Runnings. You seen that film?
Yeah.
It was that bobsleigh at the beginning. It was terrible, but I loved it.
And then leading on from Gus's question on how to actually start racing like you did, but there are people that have started that are in Mazdas or Fiestas, or, similar to what you did. How do you maintain the journey of racing? Because some people are stuck and can't race again. A lot of people I know can't afford to race anymore. How do you think people continue racing?
Well, you've got to have a little bit of gift of the gab, which I think a lot of people struggle with. So they've got to sell themselves and bang down the doors of the next tier, saying, I haven't quite got the money, but I'm going to win in your car. This is what I did. And I don't think I spent much more money after that first year, just through hustling. And the problem is if you're not fast and you've got no charisma, so you don't talk to anybody, but you've got a big dream, it's like you're trapped.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's like, okay, I'm going to have to join someone who can sell me, my uncle or someone who's really good at getting me in the door to this other team. And I need to win. I just need to win. Because I think when you're winning, things do kind of happen a bit more, don't they?
They do.
And if you're shouting loud enough through social media, you're documenting it, like you said earlier, I think then hopefully something comes. But there's no template. It's just win, get people to say yes. That's it.
Yeah.
What else is there, really?
Well, ironically, on that subject, that's exactly... I remember I messaged you a few months ago, like, I've got this sponsor, they might be doing title sponsorship for Germany and Super Cup. Lo and behold, that fell through.
I was going to say, what happened?
They just ghosted me. Like, literally got to, this was a hundreds and hundreds of thousands deal to fully fund Germany and Super Cup for me. And this went on until like early December. We'd flown out to meet them. We got contracts ready. They'd agreed for everything. They wanted like top-notch hospitality and stuff, everything like that. And then, I was even messaging you, like, I was like, the contract's literally done, but I was like, I'm still not going to...
Yeah, you were no way.
Just wait. And then I went quiet on you. They went quiet on me.
Yeah.
And then that left me in a position where, no one's interested in talking business around Christmas. Then we're into the new year, and then I had a sponsor who'd agreed to support me, who then backed out literally a few weeks ago. And I did exactly what you just said, and I sat in front of a really nice team owner. And this might be the reason why I'm racing this year. And I sat down there, and I didn't want to screw him around. And he was in the UK for a bit, and I sat down with him and just said, look, drove 2 or 3 hours to him just to meet him face to face, because I know that's my strong point.
Yep.
And I just said, look, I have no money. And I said, if I were you, I'd be asking why I have no money when I've had the whole off season. Here's why. I'm not going to make a massive sob story about it. This is what's happened. Right now, I've got nothing. I'll work as hard as I can to get something. But rather than listen to me, I was like, I can win a championship in your car. I know I can, and I believe that genuinely. That's not BS.
Yep.
But, I said to him, rather than listen to me talk about how good I am, I can't pay for it, but I'll come out to wherever you're testing, get me in a car, and I'll prove it. And I did.
My goodness.
And that might be why I'm driving this year.
Mate, that's it. You just said it all in one there.
Yeah.
And how many drivers do you think do that?
Not many. Well, I think a lot of drivers might go and sit in front of them and they'll say, well, yeah, I might have this amount of money and what. The last thing you want to do is ever, for lack of a better term, bullshit someone.
Yeah.
Because the last thing I wanted to do, it was like, it wasn't as blunt as this, but I was like, you can tell me to F off now, but here's my situation, or you can give me a chance.
Something opens up there, though, doesn't it? And even in a team, a solid face team manager, it's like, you remind me of me, or you deserve a chance. I've just got this spoiled kid who will pay me, but actually, I want you in the car.
Yeah,
mate, honestly, it's huge.
Yeah. And this is what people forget. This is as well with Gus saying that this is from someone who Gus is one of the best drivers I know. Mm-hmm. Someone who's won. Mate. That's all right. Someone who's won British GT, won multiple races in Porsche.
Yeah,
and still has no one coming to him to sponsor him.
Yeah,
you have to put yourself in the right environment in front of the right people, and negotiate on your own. Everyone's has everything to do on their own.
But I would say as well, hope for the best with sponsorship and expect the worst.
Yeah,
because that's exactly what's happened to me. And I think you create your own luck to an extent. You might feel like you're getting nowhere. Like I was in a pretty bad mental space just in terms of the stressing about racing fairly recently.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot going on. I'm thinking, you know, it's a big first world problem for me. But, you know, I've had the privilege of being able to race cars since I was 14. All I've known is racing since I was 9, and really been trying to make a career out of it the last 4 years. And I thought, God, I've gone from doing Formula One weekends last year on Super Cup, you know, Porsche Great Britain weekends last year, winning races, and now I might be completely out of the job.
Well, I tell you what, top marks for doing it, but now, oh mate, you've just been offered a little nugget of the future.
Yeah,
it's like I've got to fill that white space with sponsors now.
This
for next year.
To be brutally honest, this is what I needed.
Yeah, you did.
Because
totally. You can just ride on a wave. It's easy, right?
Because I haven't had it handed on a plate to me, but the last few years, my parents supported my early years of racing and have helped fill in any gaps that needed to be filled in. But the last 2 years has been solely done of sponsorship. But you do get in this sort of mindset of like, oh, this is just going to happen now. Do you know what I mean? I've raced at Super Cup, blah, blah. Hopefully I'll do that next year.
Yeah.
It's not a definite, obviously, but I've got a newfound hunger that I haven't had in a while to really go out there and prove myself. Because like you just said about, telling young kids it's make or break, I've got that feeling in me now, and I've had this potentially amazing opportunity from a wonderful team boss who sort of sees hope in me. And I'm not asking for handouts. I said, look, I'm going to work as hard as I can throughout the season to get little sponsors, big sponsors, whatever. I've got the network, but I just need time, and I basically need them to commit to me for the early part of the season, so I can get the funding for the last 3 quarters to all the cool races we're doing. I won't give away what it is yet because it's not announced, but that opportunity, I want to prove to him that I'm worth it. I want to prove to myself that I've got it. And I want to prove to manufacturers that I'm worthy of a factory drive. And I think had I not had this year, I would have potentially had another year of not quite maximizing my potential.
Yep.
To be brutally honest. And I think this year has been a really big smack in the face for me of this is a really difficult industry. No one's giving you handouts. You've got to go out there and find it. And something will fall into place, even if it's last minute. And by the way, if you're ever going to get into racing, it is the most stressful thing in the world. It looks like it's fun, and it is. Once you're on track, it's great. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's 90%. It's not a 90% disaster when you're on track, but it's worth it for the 10% success you get.
Yeah.
But everything around it is a tornado of events. You've got to schedule your own life around it, but it has to be priority.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have people let you down. You're going to have people come and give you opportunities, but you've got to go out and find it.
Yeah, and it's brutal actually. Like the Formula route is exactly the same. No one looks. You can't say many F1 drivers look happy, right?
No,
it's just stress.
Yeah,
it's just panic. Am I going to be in next year? What's going to happen? There's personal stuff happening because now it's different when you're high profile, right?
Yeah,
you just have things. It's never nice.
No.
That's why they always say, oh, the karting days. They were so cool.
Yeah.
We used to get out and just thrash around, play football in between.
Yeah.
Them days are gone.
Yeah.
Same with everything though, right?
Yeah.
You hear movie stars say the same thing.
But people
They're
also
trying to escape on drugs. You see singers.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I wouldn't wish this on anyone. You're like, what?
Yeah.
You got an amazing life.
Yeah.
But when you're there, it's different.
But people also say to me, if I'm, say it just a normal social event like family dinner or something, they're like, oh, you're racing Porsches at 19, at 20, at 21, around the world. That's just amazing. Like you must enjoy that so much. And the short answer is yes, but I think people see it as like a jolly, doing a fun track day, driving around a track. Whereas actually, before you get in the car, you're absolutely bricking yourself most of the time because you've got a lot of external pressure sometimes from sponsors, and that will happen as you get better and better. You get more and more external pressure. Yep. If you don't already have it from your parents or whatever, you'll then have it from the team if they're giving you an opportunity like I might be having this year, from sponsors that are funding all your racing. If you're not at the front getting the TV coverage, they're not going to like it.
Yeah.
But my point there is it's only fun when you've performed, and your whole career is on the line every time you go out on track.
Yep.
in front of a crowd
Yeah.
to prove yourself.
Yeah, talk to us about those pressures, especially in Formula One. So obviously you've done some incredible work with drivers over the years, but going into more of Liam Lawson's story, who you've worked with very closely for many years.
Yeah.
What are the pressures like? You know, he made his debut in F1 last year at Zandvoort.
It was huge, that was.
Which was an incredible story on its own. You know, what are the pressures like in F1 on that scale?
It's amazing actually how F1 is still similar to the other championships when you're in it. Oh, it's a car. You've got a team working on it. You see behind the scenes, it's actually not as glamorous as you think, as you can imagine. Like when you look at anything that you've got now, when you didn't have it, it's amazing. When you've got it, it's now base normal. So we got to be grateful for stuff as well. So when they say to you, first of all, being a 19-year-old driving around Europe in a Porsche, stop now and then and go, yeah, it is actually. You know, especially when it's stressful, it's like, actually, this is good. It could be a lot worse.
No, I do.
Pressure is a blessing.
Even if it's just once a day, actually. You know, a bit of mental diet in the morning, 2 seconds, like, then back to the crap. But still, give it a bit. I can think you do, right, by the sounds of it.
Oh, I do, and that relates to what I just said about this year.
Yeah.
Of, you know, the saying, like, you don't realize what you have until it's gone, or whatever. That is basically like the fear I had this year. I was like, oh my God, I've taken this for granted my whole life. Obviously, I knew, you know, last year when I was at Monaco, regardless of how awful of a weekend that was for me, it was unbelievable. And I had to, but again, you sort of go into this mindset of like, oh, I'm just racing. This is a race weekend, you know, like I'm racing at, you know, Brentwood karting or something like that. It honestly, the mindset was no different. But then when you actually take yourself back and you go, oh my God, I'm in the Formula One pit lane. I'm racing at the Monaco Grand Prix weekend.
This is cool.
This is really cool. But on the other side of that, I don't want to do racing for that reason. I want to do racing to go out and win and perform.
Too right. I get it. Yeah. So with Liam, it was funny because on the Friday morning, he was there at Zandvoort. I was there. Not with him, but I was, because I was with Ollie Bearman in the F2. So I went to see him. And he was kind of like frustrated. You know, when am I going to get my shot and all this? Like, you're doing all the right things. You're here. You're doing well in the racing because it was a Super Formula. Fighting for the title there. Everything's good. Don't worry. But you know what drivers are like. They're worried about it not going to plan and impatient. And then 24 hours later, well, actually that day, obviously, Ricciardo did his wrist in.
Yeah.
You're up. And he's like, oh, why here? It's like, man, this is what we spoke about hours ago. Come on. Yeah. But that's, again, right? You're like, oh, not now. It's wet.
Wow.
I haven't driven this car. Zandvoort is different to when I last drove it. It's a different layout. And I'm on the stage in FP3. And it's kind of like, that's pressure.
Yeah, and you don't even have the whole weekend to work it out. You've just got the last practice and qualifying.
What did he say to you after the first F1 session? What was his feedback?
That was I can't believe how fast Max is, because Max overtook him obviously at one point. I think, is that qualifying or not? I don't know. It was wet anyway.
Yeah.
How the hell's he doing that with the car? And then he tried it and spun, if you remember.
Yeah, last corner, right?
yeah. Then he stayed out of the barrier just about, or didn't do damage. But still, it was like, okay, right, it's amazing. This is the shot you wanted. So that sort of talk of like, we want this. You know, there's no losing here. You can't lose. So sort of changing the way a driver will see a certain situation changes the way they feel about it. So, okay, think about how I can word this to give the driver positive outlook. This is amazing. I'm going to get in this car. It's what I've wanted. I've worked so hard for it, so I deserve it. Because obviously it can go into self-belief if you're not careful. Am I good enough to actually do this? Keep them away from that, which is the same with every pressure. It's like, what have we got to do? I've got to speak to the engineer, get really specced up. I know the wheel, how it works and stuff. A few things I want changing. So as soon as you start to get their mind onto process, just do this first. Then it starts to calm down. And before you know it, he's in the car. And then he's just driving. It's like, okay.
It's just the same at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah. And he has driven F1, but obviously not that much, but not that car, I don't think, up to that point.
So how and when did you find out that he had been called up last minute? Liam.
It was probably only 2 hours before the media did, I think. I can't remember when it broke. Was it Saturday morning or Friday night?
I can't remember either.
It was...
I think it was literally the morning of.
I could check my phone. It's a text saying it looks like he's done his wrist, and I've been told by so and so in the team that I could be in the car. And, I've been asked, "Am I ready?" He's like, "Yes."
Yeah.
Shaking his head. Of course I am. And so it's probably like 2 hours before the world knew, should we say? So it's like brilliant, fantastic.
And how does that feel for you as a coach / manager?
Switch on, go. What's this kid need straight away? What's he need to? Because I know he's going to be freaking out at some point.
Yeah.
What's he need now? Okay, go and have a talk. Calm down. Get it one step at a time. How do you warm these tires up? So just keep their head there, and then you'll be fine.
He did a phenomenal
You don't
job.
even think about how you feel. It's like, geez, this is on. Go.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like all systems go.
Must have been a proud moment though for you.
I think it is
Or
when
maybe
you're watching...
once you digested it, I guess.
Yeah, you know what? I can't even think it was proud. It was just... I don't know. It wasn't there. It wasn't... I think this sport kicks the crap out of you that much.
Yeah.
And coach as well. You're afraid to celebrate.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like, right, we've won. Oh, what next?
Yeah.
It's really bad.
What's going to go wrong, basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's done. That's a tick. We did something right. We're going to get our ass handed to us next time out.
Yeah.
So it's like a driver. It's constantly revolving. And if you're winning, they're coming. So it's the same as that, really. It's like, right, what's next? No, we've got to prepare for the next race weekend. And he had some brutal ones, right? Singapore. And then Qatar.
Yeah, there's photos of him sweating in the paddock because he was parachuted in. Obviously, he would have been training and super fit.
But not like that.
I mean, that was one of the hottest races recorded, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he did. I think he did a phenomenal job, especially Zandvoort. I mean, to keep it on the road the whole race.
Yeah,
and he's quite feisty as well.
He was quick.
He is so good at that, though. I think 8 out of 9 championships he's done. He's won in the first round.
He's a really good racer.
Oh.
He's like, what? You shouldn't be rookie winning. Even if it's reverse grid, doesn't matter. It's still a win.
Yeah.
And yeah, DTM first weekend, F4, F3, not F3, sorry, but the other F3, Euro Formula. He did, and Super Formula.
Yeah.
He's really good at getting on top of the car.
100%. And an unbelievable racer. I think when he first came on the radar, it was when he did the Toyota series. I think it was back in 2016 or something. I think it's 2017. 2018. Okay.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing the clip. It was in the rain and he overtook someone on the outside of the far chicane. I don't know if you saw it, but it was outrageous.
I think it's 2019.
It was outrageous.
Yeah,
it
was.
And it was an unbelievable move. And I remember closely after that, he was signed to Red Bull.
He had a lot of options, 3 or 4 different options actually from F1, and it was like, take your pick. That was a nice time, especially for the parents.
Yeah.
And I was there in the cafe in New Zealand when he was signing it and just seeing the family there. There's a photo somewhere of it. It's really cool.
I remember that. What, signing the Formula 2 thing?
No, the Red Bull contract.
Oh, the Red Bull.
First one. Yeah. So nice for the family because they've put everything into it.
Yeah.
They can't even afford really to come and watch the races. It's not like
I was just going to ask
family.
that. So yeah, I'd heard about Liam that, I mean, obviously not like, from the slums necessarily, I don't know, but
just normal.
Yeah, he's just normal.
Yeah.
So how my question, but especially to the viewers or listeners, is how the hell, if you come from a normal background, do you end up in FIA F3, F2? I mean, forget the earlier steps that are still ludicrously expensive, but how the hell do you break into Formula 3? We're talking 1.5 million ish.
Yeah.
Formula 2, we're talking 2 million plus. How?
It is mad, and he's got a great story there as well, because they didn't have the money. They could do karting, I think, but that was about it. He won a scholarship. Now, because he's so good at getting in the car and going, scholarships were his way forward. And there was a scholarship called Speed Sport set up by Grant McDonald and someone else. And he won that. And it gives you Formula First season.
Right.
So that's it, done. First year. Brilliant.
Cool.
He did really well in that, got spotted, did Formula Ford after that, which I think he started to get partners then in New Zealand to pay for the racing. Did F4 Australia, still not his own money, because they couldn't afford it, I don't think. More sponsors, a collection of sponsors, so some giving a little bit, some giving more.
Yeah.
And all of this was generated, this income, by a janitor at a high school doing it in his free time.
What, finding him the money?
Yeah. Grant McDonald. It's his closest thing to a manager he's got.
Yeah.
And he has rallied people up in New Zealand to just pay for this kid who's definitely going to F1, selling it on that dream. Yeah, I'll be a part of it. So there's a big collection of people just putting money in the pot. Some genuine sponsors on the car. Others are just silent investors. But that bloke had to work like mad.
That's unbelievable.
And he hardly ever comes over either because he's just working class as well. It's an amazing story. So that kid had no money to go racing.
Yeah.
No real education. Not that you need it, but he has got to where he is through that, and that took him up to Red Bull level. They obviously help out a little bit, like most programs do, but the rest is still them investors, still putting money in after like 5 years, thinking he's going to get to F1.
That's insane.
So all of it is off other people's money and hard work.
He had a good chance as well of getting into... I mean, it was basically, from what I understand, sort of him or Ricardo sort of for the AlphaTauri seat for what?
Could have been anyone though, right?
Yeah, I
Could have
guess.
just called someone.
But Red Bull are that, aren't they? They're so cutthroat.
Yeah. But it is. It's basically win or you're out. And that's, to be honest, mate, that's the way the sport should be.
Yeah.
So I can't go against Red Bull on that. It is cutthroat.
So on that topic, with someone like... I was speaking to Jordan before the podcast. One question I really wanted to ask you, it'd just be interesting to hear your opinion on, or what you've seen, is what separates someone that has the talent and can win races in F2 and Formula E. We saw it with like Nick De Vries, has the talent and is clearly capable. And then someone that goes out and no matter what, the car setup, the conditions, the whatever, your Max Verstappens, your Lewis Hamiltons, maybe Ollie Bearman, Antonelli that we're hearing about coming up through the ranks. How and why, what separates them from the rest who might have a similar talent level, but they are able to extract the best out of themselves in the car every time?
Without dissecting the brain and knowing what actual abilities they're given, I would say, well, think about Top Gun, the film. What's the difference between Maverick? Can you name another one? Not Goose, because he's in the back. Iceman, he's pretty good. What's the difference between them two? Or actually one that you don't really talk about. It's the millimeter stuff. It's like I tell you what really helps some drivers. It's going a bit old school and feeling the car and having a really good feel of what it's doing. Not what I want to do in my career. I'm just driving this car and I'm extracting as much as I can from this tyre. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're putting the grip where they want it to be. And they've got that skill and they learned it. Like when you get the New Zealand kids come over, I've had quite a few and they're all good enough for F1.
Yeah.
Stanaway, Hartley, who actually did make it, Liam, and even the new kid, Louis Sharp. They come because they've started with really young. They're in the car at 13. That helps. So when their brain is being coded, they're actually in a car. They're not waiting until after. So that's cool. That really helps. But it's Formula Ford, stick shift, Formula First. It's sliding around and all this. And they come along with brilliant skills. Whether they can feel the car and they have to manipulate it.
Yeah.
It's not like a lot of drivers who just chase a brake shape. And they just go out there with that that thought in their head. And that's not mastery.
I think some drivers look for the way to be quick. Do you know what I mean? The one strategy, the secret to being fast, but there isn't really one. You have to have that initial feeling. Yeah.
For me, there's a great video. I always wonder, what separates these greats as well. And there's an amazing, you've probably seen a clip of Lewis Hamilton with an RC car when he's like, I don't know, 5 years old, and he's up against all these adults. He wins the race.
How long have you been racing cars for already, Lewis?
About a year.
So you must be pretty good at it. Is it easy to do?
No.
Yeah.
And there's a shot of him unbelievably focused with his eyes on this RC car as a kid, nothing else distracting him, nothing else exists apart from this RC car. He's just trying to get around this grass track. He's literally dialed in so intensely. And I think that's something that great athletes are able to do, is that intense focus of everything happening in the present moment and nothing else existing, so that when you're in that zone, you're feeling every single tiny minute thing that's going on. I think that might be
Yeah, I mean, you got all different. You haven't got like a template of this is how you train a driver and this is how they should be.
Yeah.
To be a champion. There isn't really one because there'll be a Kimi Räikkönen that comes along.
Yeah.
Who's 2 days ago was having a drink and now he's just poled it. So there's always that. But what you said, I bet they all have.
Yeah.
And it's just that I was watching Max really close when I was coaching his teammate in F3. It's the only year he did in cars. It's crazy in junior levels. Yeah. And the very first test, it was Gustavo Menezes. I'm sure you've met him.
Gustavo?
He's been to Izo, I'm sure.
I think once, yeah.
And I saw this kid, he's 15, maybe 16 then, in this F3 car. And I know our car had a bit of understeer in the team. And it was turn 12 at Hungary. Have you raced there? You have, haven't you? You raced at Hungary.
You've raced there, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So turn
Budapest,
12,
yeah.
so downhill right.
Got absolutely shafted there, yeah.
Are you joking me? What the was that, mate? Understand his frustration.
Oh, yeah. It's easy there.
Oh, wait,
Turn one.
I'll roll that clip. My radio was broadcasted.
Turn one at all?
No, it was it was just an idiot into... I don't even know. You know the 90 right before the last two corners?
Yeah.
After the end of that
That's
sort of
the one,
short
turn
straight.
12.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just about to talk about.
Yeah, so turn 12, I think as a team, we were a bit slow for Super Cup. There's 30 really good drivers on the grid, but we qualified like 9th, 11th and 12th, and I was 12th, and I was like P9 by lap 3. And I had a renowned driver for absolutely shafting people. I won't name his name, but if you did Super Cup, anyone watching this, you know who it is.
Okay.
Yeah, he just completely rear-ended me. Like, it's one of those where I held him behind for 2 laps, like white lining it a bit.
Had enough.
And he was just like, right. You could just see on the onboard, he literally had just braked, come off the brake, smashed me, and then I was like P20 again. But yeah, great. Anyway, back to your story.
So I stood on the inside of that corner, not that weekend, obviously, and I watched him try and rotate it on the entry. Couldn't. So, okay, next lap. He went over the apex curb and it kicked the rear out, like a karting style, but in F3.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. And I was like, oh, he's figuring this out at 16.
Yeah.
We're screwed.
Yeah.
What the hell is that? And then I just kept seeing it. I kept seeing things throughout the year. Driving on the data, Gus could match him now and then, right? It was like he actually qualified him in Spa, actually. So that was... It's not about that so much. It's all the little bits. So it was drying at Hockenheim, the stadium corner, probably another one you've done. And dry line on the right where everyone should be.
Yeah.
He was still driving on the left in practice. And I was like, what the hell's he doing? But he's actually just, if it's going to be like that in the race, I want to know what it's like to overtake there. Could have been. I didn't ask him. Yeah. He was also rotating it and just still... the same. I was doing split times, and it was still a very similar split time to someone on a dry line. Wow. I was like, no one even does that. They just stick to dry line, think of lap time.
Yeah.
But now he was just testing stuff, and I'm like, I can imagine actually as a kid, your dad sent you out, no matter what the weather conditions, no matter what the tires, slicks or whatever, learn, and that is also a contributing factor to people who are good.
Do you think there's some
master craft?
Yeah. Do you think there's something in? Do you think there's something in top athletes in general that have a challenging upbringing? I'm not talking about money, but if you take Verstappen's dad, for example, and the stories we hear about how incredibly harsh and rough he was. Obviously, they had money growing up, but incredibly, like, it can't have been a fun time for Max. And he even admits that and knows that now. And anyone that worked with them back in the day when he was karting said that it was brutal. It was a brutal relationship, but he's grateful because it's made him a fierce like champion. He's not scared of anything. He doesn't think anyone is better than him.
Yoss for it.
Yeah, I
just can't.
Yeah,
because I know when you saw it, it was like, oh, this is embarrassingly hard on the driver.
Yeah,
you have to walk away because you're like, shit, this is.
But some kids
bad.
Would break.
They would, but if you're born into it, and you've got it all your life. I tell you what, I tried to sign Max up when he was in karts at PFI with that Gravity company I was with. We were trying to talent scout and was like, this is a good one. He was against George Russell that year. It was a world champs, I think. And I went to see him and he knew we were coming. His dad had said, yeah, it's fine. We got Red Bull talking to us and all this. And I kind of like gave him some hints on track, and I don't know karting. It's just something I could see he wasn't doing that the others were. I told him, and he's like this, looking me in the eyes, right, really taking it in.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus. And then he goes and does it. Whatever that was, I can't remember. I was like, that's coachable.
Yeah.
Like, he's used to being told something, and he's respectful enough not to say, what do you know?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know, but
I
I could just
wondered
see
whether
something.
that was what you were about to say, actually, whether he was just going to be like, F off.
No, he was like there. I was like, wow, okay, this kid listens. And I remember thinking that.
Yeah.
This was before we even knew how good he'd be. So actually, when he was signed up to F1, I just thought, I can't wait for you guys to see what this is. Because everyone was poo-pooing it.
Yeah.
I was like, dudes, you wait till it's wet. He's going to kill
Wasn't he
all
in
of you.
F1 at 17?
Oh.
And did his
Didn't
test-
matter. He was ready. So
Yeah.
Raikkonen was the same. You saw him at, halfway through the first car year. Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
You're fine. You'll be fine. So how'd you actually recreate that? Some of it must be DNA.
Yeah.
It's got to be they've got that innate, because their brother or sister might
But
not have
they-
anything like that, and
yeah.
they can't get on with the car or
with the similar upbringing.
yeah, same upbringing, belief system, but they just got something different.
They both definitely got that belief system of like, why should he be better than me? And if he is, why can't I be? Do you know what I mean? There's no like, he's more talented than me, and I'll never get to that. I mean, I remember there's a quote from Max, I think, where he said something about Lewis. Well, I think in 2021 when they were like,
Big one.
literally head to head with each other. And he said, obviously Lewis was very religious. He said, God might be with him, but he's not God or something.
Okay.
Which was actually it was quite a funny / savage, but true quote, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's like, sometimes you do see these top athletes, maybe even if, I remember when I was younger and I hadn't quite worked out how to drive yet in terms of like, didn't really grow up in a racing family. Dad, thank you, Dad, wasn't really harsh on me when I was younger with performance and whatever, because he also just hadn't been around that world. I was speaking about this with Jordan. I said, if I had a son, I would be not hard, but I'd make sure that he has the discipline instilled in him, and I would, coach him, and therefore he'd pick it up a lot quicker. But when I was in that situation of, sometimes I would qualify 5th, sometimes I would qualify 15th. I would look at the guy that's always winning and just think like I can't do that.
Yep.
Or I would think, how's he doing that? And if he came up behind me, say in a reverse grid race, or he's had a shocking quali, I would brick myself. I would just be like, he's coming past, might as well let him pass anyway. And then as I grew up and I proved to myself that I was good enough, that just went away.
Yeah.
And I don't have that attitude at all anymore, and I actually want to make sure I'm that person where if people see me in the rearview mirror, they know I'm coming past or going to try and come past.
That's a belief system. I don't mean self-belief. I mean, if you had one belief, you can only go so quick in this car. Even if you've done it 7 years in a row, you hit a ceiling, right? You can't carry on getting quicker. The tyres only got so much grip. I've just got to figure out how to do this, get this car through this corner. If you get your head there, all of a sudden you start to like, okay, that belief now I can do whatever. Maybe it's got a quicker engine. Could be something out of your control.
Yeah.
But if you really got a belief that the car can only go so quick, I've just got to figure it out. And he's figured it out somehow, or the team have. I can do that. It's possible. Then I think you go on, don't you? And then you've got proof because you've done it at least numerous times, should we say?
Yeah.
And then that backs it up, and then all of a sudden you're not like you used to be.
Yeah.
And I remember that Formula Ford first year being overtaken by he's probably in his 50s because it's club racing, but he's been winning for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
One of them raced against Mansell, all this, like, wow. I remember Cadwell Park, who's going past me, was like, oh, like he was Jesus walking on water.
Yeah.
And then the next year we were fighting like this. So it was
Yeah.
completely different.
Yeah.
So, and he was running my car actually as well because I was his teammate. So it is amazing how the first time it's like that, but you grow out of it, I think, hopefully.
Yeah.
Don't put people on pedestals.
No.
Like when you like you say when you're going up to F1, we're trying to build a driver now to compete against Max.
Yeah.
Not to be like, oh, Max is up there.
Yeah.
True.
Which is
And he's
sort
going to
of
have been there 10 years by then.
Yeah,
At
which is
least.
sort of what I heard Liam say on a podcast as well. Like he said, and he was making a joke out of it, but I can imagine like if I was thrown into F1 randomly, I'd be like, I can't beat Lewis, I can't beat Max. In my head, I would have something like, eventually I'll get there.
Yeah.
But there is that initial thing of, I think it's really good advice to just realize that anyone at the top of anything in business, in sport, they are just a bloke or a woman.
Yep.
They are
100%.
just a person that is maybe talented, yes, but puts in work where you might not be.
Yep.
And you need to learn from that and learn from everyone around you. And rather than look at them as, or make excuses for them and go, well, you know, their dad was in business, or, you know, they had the funding from a young age to do this.
Yeah.
Whereas you actually just need to get on with it. If you want to do it, you can do it, but you need to be willing to accept that you need to put in the work for it.
And they're nowhere near their potential.
No.
They're probably only 80% of what they could do. You know what I mean? I mean, Kobe Bryant was good at this. He would look at everything. He'd do ballet dancing to strengthen his ankles and stuff. He was always trying to find different ways to improve that other people weren't. So I'd say he was the closest at being like global, working on stuff.
Yeah.
Anything I need, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll even do public speaking classes just because it'd get me better on that side. And I think, so you see them guys in racing as well. You can't spend that long in the car, can you?
No.
You're racing, I think, is the most, you don't do much testing nowadays.
And there's some, again, in that situation, you've always got the excuse. There's going to be a driver out there, a couple of drivers out there that do have an unlimited budget.
Yeah.
And they
of course.
can go out and test all the time, but you need to make sure that isn't your excuse. You know, you need to make sure that those 2 or 3 days of testing you have, as opposed to someone else's 10 or 20, that they are the most efficient and productive days possible.
You can focus on them people, or you could look at the ones that have only had 6 test days and they're still up the front.
Yeah.
Like Bearman was 6, I think, and we weren't going to send him into F4. We was going to say another year of karting, as management were. And all of a sudden COVID came, pushed the timetable schedule back.
Yeah.
Oh, we can do it now. He's old enough. Fuck, let's just go for it, because his first test was all right. And they did. And then he was winning races in the first year. And it's like, okay, that's a kid with no testing. And a lot of them are doing 40, 50 days. Imagine how much money that is at $5,000 a pop, $6,000 a pop. And they are that level. So everyone learns different as well. So you can't really say they've had more than me, so that's why they're quick. It's like, no, we still haven't got the car on the limit. Come on, let's get that car on the limit every single corner. How it wants to be driven, not how you want to drive.
Yeah.
And then it depends how quick you can get there.
Yeah, for sure. On Ollie Bearman, so you were working closely with him. He's clearly showing signs that he's on the verge of F1 ability.
Yeah.
Last year, he had an unbelievably exceptional weekend in Baku, where he dominated the whole weekend. And one session in particular where he poled it, he had bent steering.
He was P1 in every session, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But qualifying, what did you see? What he did in qualifying?
Didn't he hit the wall?
In every session, he hit the wall. So I weren't happy with that.
Yeah.
But that one was quite cool, I must admit.
Yeah, so he poled it with steering left hand down, no?
Yeah. So it was hilarious. The radio, well, it wasn't. I was walking back to the pit lane. Oh, great, it's done.
Yeah.
Come off the corner. Actually, going back to the truck, if you like, the awning. But he hit the wall again. I mean, like, I just knew he was going to do that because he's so fast.
Yeah.
He keeps going.
Yeah.
Right.
Until something gives, or a track limit or whatever. He is ridiculously quick, and put walls around him for the first time ever. Obviously, he's brushing them, because he's being really cocky with them. And this one actually hit the wheel in. Toe link, oh no. I've destroyed it, guys, or something. I'm coming in. And then there was like a pause of, well, can you drive it? Because the engineer's kind of torn.
Yeah.
To say carry on, or if it breaks. And I've told him to carry on. He injured himself.
Yeah.
We're in trouble. So it's kind of like that sort of decision. How bad actually is it? No, it's not. It's some driver, but it's all over. Like, oh, great. And then somehow the engineer just said, well, just try and get one more lap. And you could see on the straight, it was crabbing. I was like, oh, we're screwed. There's no point. And then it was probably green or purple, sector 1 and 2 and 3. And everyone was just gobsmacked. And you could see it on the replay. It was like this as well. So he basically said it was the scariest lap of his life, because every corner he was trying to stay alive. But he was that focused on just maximizing what he got.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, all the other crap of how am I doing? Where's my teammate?
Yeah.
What's so-and-so thinking? Now, just all that's gone, and he's just putting out small fires all the way around.
Yeah.
Looks up. Oh, geez, really?
Yeah.
And I think that is a real insight to what a driver should be thinking on a hot lap.
But I think
so here.
Freed his mind.
Yeah.
you're in.
But I think
You're locked in.
sometimes as well, sometimes if you have something like that, and it's like John Pratt at
Give up.
iZone, where we will count backwards.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's my quickest laps for some reason. For those who don't know what we do, we'll basically get told randomly to count backwards in 3s or 7s or something going around a lap, which I can't do even sitting here normally, let alone whilst driving the car. But it completely takes my mind off the driving, and I haven't even thought about the lap at all. Mm-hmm. And then I've crossed the line and I've gone a 10th quicker than my fastest ever time.
That's the other side to it.
Yeah. But I think maybe in a situation like that, where you've got the excuse, if you come in and go, well, it's still your fault, but you go, yeah, I hit the wall and then my toe link was bent and, the car was screwed after that.
Yeah.
He had that comfort blanket. So you just go out, do the best you can with whatever you got. Now. And like you said, it took so much focus for him to not crash because the car was effed up. Yeah. That he actually pulled out an amazing lap.
And I'll tell you what he had, and you will experience this, both of you. He had starting a race at the back, when you know you quit, starting the race at the back, feeling nothing to lose.
Yeah.
In quali.
Yeah.
No one ever gets that.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Not in quali. They're too, I've got to get this right. What have I done?
Yeah.
And it's actually, he had that feeling of just send it, no consequences, I'm screwed anyway.
Yeah.
No expectations in qualifying. Oh my God, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That was
So now I'm trying to recreate that with every driver.
Yeah.
That's
It's a great story for it, really, to be honest. It's like, just drive.
I know.
That's all you got to do.
That's what it is. I bet the paddock put some attention on him after that.
Yeah.
Ferrari and everyone.
Yeah, he's fast. And in his first F1 test, he was quicker than people have been driving it all year. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
Not the real car, the test car.
Yeah.
So he just, in his very first test, it's like, okay, he's looking good.
Yeah.
Just got to keep this going. He's got a tough year this year with Antonelli and Martins, all there. They've got some, I think there's 3 there that will all go. Kush
should be on it. He was quick
as well.
Yeah, he was quick, yeah.
There's at least 3 on the grid that will be an F1, I'm sure. You don't normally say that. You normally think it's like Hulkenberg, Grosjean year when there's quite a few.
I can't wait to watch. The F2, F3 is going to be amazing to watch this year.
Is.
It's like the Albon Russell Norris year.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And you just know they're going all the way if they play their cards right.
And how old is he now, Ollie?
18.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Mate, can you imagine being in sixth form and like being on the doorstep of F1?
That's mad.
He must have. Although, is that something you have to?
Some girls in the DMs.
Yeah, I was going to say, is
18 this year.
Is that something you have to help him not get distracted by, not let his head get too big?
With him, no.
Really?
He's from an Essex family. His dad's amazing, David. He's like he's an Essex boy who's built his wealth, literally insurance.
Yeah,
came from nothing, him and his mom, and they built it up to just about. You can't really throw money at racing at this level.
Yeah,
but to get him to where he's up to, but he's got such good values where hard work, being a nice person, is still a good thing. So he's got that, and he's not being distracted by girls either, which is great.
That's surprising.
He probably is, but he's not telling us about it.
I was just going to say.
He's clever. But Ferrari keep you on quite a tight schedule. You live over there with them. They give you a timetable, so all your days are full. It could be Italian lessons, fitness, F1 sim, F2 sim. So they're really kept busy over there.
Okay.
So it's kind of like...
And he's out there, living out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was from day one when he joined them, actually. F3, F2. That's what they do. They all live in one apartment block, pretty much. So it's a very different kind of program like that.
Keeps them focused.
It's a nice program though, because I think like personally I lack that and try to replicate it myself. It's difficult. It's a backward sport, in my opinion, from the sense that one, like I was fortunate enough to have my parents help me through the early years of racing, but it's amazing how you can invest so much money to get your son finally to the point where he's quick enough to be on the doorstep and in my own arrogant opinion be worthy of like to be performing at the top level. And you still have to go out and find your own funding and stuff like that. But that's the main stress with me, because if I could, I would just have a schedule where I'm training, I'm around other racing drivers, constantly going head to head, putting myself under pressure, making myself the best driver I possibly can. But
working on your craft.
But you then have to balance that with the rest of your life, which then becomes a majority sponsorship team, keeping everyone happy so something works out this year. Whereas if I was in the position where I had the comfort blanket of everything's funded, I've got to drive, like blah, 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 I would have been just training for and known what I'm training for the last 3 months.
Yeah, that's the ideal world, right? And some people do have that. They've got that luxury, but you haven't. You've got none of the luxury. You're hopefully in. You had a great racing experience, but yeah, you can't always have that perfect way, I'm afraid.
No.
You're going to have to hustle. I'll tell you who, you probably know him, Dino Zamparelli.
Yeah.
Just take a book out of it, page out of his book.
Yeah.
He just had 500 quid sponsors on the bonnet. The bonnet looked horrendous. The Bristol bonnet. All these different stickers, a builder, a plumber, whatever, it doesn't matter, just from Bristol, the Bristol bonnet. And he then had a network party on his car, big gigs at the end of the year to say thank you. They said, I'll put a bit more in. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
It's not easy, right?
Yeah.
He was smashing the phones. It's like when you look at anyone who's a top entrepreneur, they didn't just start with Amazon.
No.
It's like there's such a journey of failures, of working on the market stall, learning the skills that you need. But drivers ain't got the patience. I need the sponsorship in 2 months.
Yeah.
Great.
Plus, you just want to focus on being quicker all the time as well.
Yeah.
It's
not your skill set either. That's another thing for most drivers. I can't pick up the phone. Exactly. 16.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something actually that you teach so much through your platforms.
Yeah,
you actually have a book, right? How to get into racing and everything. It's such an important thing to educate people because there is a lack of knowledge out there.
There's such a lack of knowledge.
There's a big lack of knowledge, and you get sucked into the wrong sort of.
I've done books on pain points for me. Money was the first one, so get the driver's sponsorship. The Warrior's Mind is pretty much mental training for race drivers, and the Parent's Guide, which I think is pretty much like the blueprint for coaching. Do this for your kid. These are the pitfalls to look for, like teams ripping you off, things like that.
Yeah.
And how to actually get the child to listen to you. Because as a parent or as a kid, the parent's the last person that you're going to take advice from, right? Normally.
Yeah.
You'll hear it from the coach or anyone else, but not them. So I think they're the three things that I really wanted to write about. Because they're the things that stop progress. Money's the big one.
It is.
But basically, it's like there's so many different ways in a car. I remember going to Spa. This was at the end when I was like, I've had enough of racing. I was probably nearly 30 or something. Going to Spa with 500 quid in my back pocket, thinking I was going to convince a team to let me drive in the, was it a 4-hour race back then? British GT, but it went to Spa. And I went there, slept in a tent right outside the medical centre, and I nearly got it. It was just one person. It was a Lotus Elise, I think, so it would have been at the back. No good in that championship. Nearly got in. I think it was them. But then their other driver stepped in last second. So close. But that was 500 quid back. I don't know how I got there because I didn't have any money whatsoever. I was working at like Rockingham race school or whatever. So it's but that actually got me more things having that approach than not. Because everything I drove for free, pretty much, just by what you did. Winning your car. Yeah. Just with that sort of conviction. And they're like, okay, I'll need someone to put us up the front.
Yeah.
So it can. But I don't think I was good enough, to be honest. So coaching was a big pull for me. I love coaching.
This is the thing.
Took me there.
And this is what a lot of people forget to understand getting into this space, into this industry. If you have a passion for it, there's so much opportunity to have a career in different avenues, whether it be coaching, management, being a sports coach, or
anything,
driving, being a host, team boss. There's so much, being an engineer, that as long as you have a passion for it, so you can, you've proved that you can make a great career.
Yeah,
in the industry.
I found what I actually wanted to do, because you change, right? I didn't want to be a race driver up until 15 or whatever. I think it was quad racing or something. So I can't remember. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, something must have sparked me, and racing was everything. I'm going to F1.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm racing in club racing with no money, and I'm still thinking I'm going to F1. Absolutely deluded.
Yeah.
I won a race in Croft.
It's a good delusion, though.
Yeah, I won a race in Croft. Is anyone going to notice? No, but wait for the phone to ring.
In my opinion, to even set out on this journey, in any journey, I think you have to be slightly delusional.
Yeah.
Jeff
Otherwise you wouldn't.
Bezos, Elon Musk, or whatever, when he started Tesla, he went from being worth about 200 million or whatever with PayPal, his shares in PayPal, invested it, basically ended up being the whole thing into Tesla, and then was couch hopping on his mate's sofas.
Yeah.
And people would say to you then, what the hell are you doing? 10 years later, 10 years of doing that, and he's the richest man in the world.
If you said to me you're setting up back then an electric car, you want a company that does electric cars, mate, don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just do golf buggies. They're the only things that are electric now.
Yeah.
And now everyone's going that way.
He did it anyway.
Let alone everything else.
But it's the same with everything, everyone. And also what I find, I think, is most people around don't like it when you are ambitious because they don't want you to do better than them. And they're not ambitious because they don't think they can do it, and they wouldn't make it. They don't really want to take the risk. So they talk you down. No, just get a job. Don't do that. That's stupid. So how are you going to make money through racing? How are you going to do this? And it's all just trying to bring you back down to their level. There's very few people I meet. I think like Jordan and Kush are the two prime examples, and maybe a couple of my other friends that actually sit there and don't hope it goes wrong for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think
true.
people do that all the time. People, and I've done it with people as well. I look at people, maybe I know them, I don't like them that much, whatever.
Get a puncher, come on.
No, but, and they've moved into F2. They might have a chance at F1. They're doing better than me by some standard, and it annoys you, and you don't want them to do well. And there's so many people like that around you, and I think it's super important to surround yourself not with yes men, but people that are honest with you,
genuine,
and believe in you and are happy for you. Someone that you want to go and tell good news to.
Yeah, that's very rare. I mean, it's not many out there. That's the higher you shoot, the more lonely it is.
Yeah,
because you haven't really got much in common.
No,
because you got your, and it is quite daunting. I think when someone's happy with their life, whatever it is, 9 to 5. They're just happy with that, and you come in and you got all these big ideas. It kind of exposes them, and they feel a bit crap about themselves. Like, screw you. So they can see it that way as well. So I understand that. And when it's when someone that you've beaten is doing really well in their career, that hurts as well.
Yeah.
No, I had them. I smashed them all year. Now look at them. But you got to get over that and say, right, if they've done it, I can do it.
Better.
What am I going to do today?
Yeah.
And then you get back to work. So it'll always come in, but you just have to keep straight back on track, boy.
Yeah.
Everyone's on their own journey, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they got nothing to do with you. That's something I used to say to drivers that are jealous of others. It's got absolutely nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Because they think there's only so many seats and it's taken away from it. It's not taken. It's just showing it's possible. Now get on with your own life. Stop watching social media in their life. Get back.
You need to be brutally honest with yourself as well, and self-reflect. We all get into a state of getting carried away, maybe with making excuses for yourself, feeling sorry for yourself, but you need to be able to bring yourself back and go, hang on, what could I be better at? Because you're never best at everything. You might be a great driver and a bad salesman for yourself, and that's why you haven't got the drive. Whereas someone who's actually a bad driver, like we know, I know a couple of drivers, not like super personally, that actually aren't that quick, but they're really nice, and they've got a big social media following, and they get drives and sponsorship through that. And that's annoying because you think, well, I'm better than them, but they're better than you at being a salesman, at building a brand. And that's, it's a business now. It's not just about being a driver.
It's so true. And there's when I'm training, I'd say most of my training is I split it into driving and mental. The teams have pretty much got driving covered now, actually.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about it. It starts a crap or overtaking, whatever. You usually got, basically after every round, we pinpoint the things that they're not happy with. So it's very negative. Yeah. It's like, I got distracted when someone was behind me for too long, started to overdrive and all this. Right, next time we're going to do this. So I think most of my coaching and most coaches, it's all on the weaknesses, if you want to call them that.
Yeah.
Areas of opportunity. But I don't hide it. It's like, you won, but my God, that was terrible. You were lucky.
Yeah.
They're so slow or something happened there. It's kind of keeping it there all the time, which sounds really unhealthy, right?
Not really. I mean,
it's just trying to push for the next
bit. You've always got to look out for things that could cause you a failure.
Yeah.
Like even in your highest moment, because there's going to be something. They're coming for you.
Complacency is so easy.
Yeah.
Once it starts going well, you just think, I've done it, where you ease off on training, you ease off on yourself, self-analysis. You think, well, I'm the bollocks now.
There's a good story with Gus. He won British GT.
Yeah.
When was it?
2021.
2021 won British GT. Dominated the year, actually.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
And John at iZone, Gus's coach, called Gus the Monday after.
Yeah.
How was the weekend? And Gus goes, won the British GT Championship. And then John's like, great, when are you in for training?
Yeah. Exactly.
No, he called me on the Sunday night just after we won it. We won it around early, and that was obviously the goal for the year. And at the time, I was promised or semi-promised if I do well, I'll get a junior program with BMW.
Yep.
Didn't happen.
Yep.
Welcome to racing. But yeah, he called and was like, right, what happened? I was like, yeah, John, we won the championship. And he was like, oh, good. Right, so when are you in this week? I was like, yeah, straight back down to life.
That's why we love him.
Yeah, but that's why I'm still at iZone.
Yeah,
is because of that guy.
Yeah,
and when you were there, it was perfect as well.
The pressure days with you were the best days. I missed
cool.
that. That was so
they
great.
Were cool.
I remember.
Not still going now.
Yeah.
Oh, they are. Cool.
Not quite as intense as they used to be, because we used to have the McLaren junior program. We used to have like Liam Lawson was there.
Yeah.
I remember being like 15 or 16 or something, and Lawson was in like F3 or going into F3 at the time, and he was at a couple of pressure days
just before COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah,
2019 basically.
But that maybe it's because I was also younger and a bit less confident, but I remember really feeling the pressure. I was scared on those days. I really was.
It's good. That's
it was
the way
great.
It should have been.
It was amazing. Enzo, thank you so much for coming today.
It's
been amazing. It's been amazing talk. And for people that want to see where your books are, where can they find them?
Well, I've got such an odd name that if you just put that in, it will find it. Enzo Mucci. All right, there you go. No, they're all on Amazon.
Well, maybe this episode will blow up and you'll get it.
But as long as the message is out there, because to be honest, you make hundreds off a book.
Yeah.
If you like me and self-publish.
Yeah.
You don't. It's not like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling. You don't make that money. So it's really just to get the message out. So I'm fine with that.
We'll put the links in the description. So wherever.
Yeah.
You can
YouTube. We're on everything.
And go and
nowadays,
buy the actual thing if you can.
Yeah. Because it should
sponsor Enzo.
Yeah. These books that would generally help a lot of people out.
Yeah. 100. I think your whole social media, your whole dynamic deserves more exposure.
It's so niche though.
I think I think it's niche, but it's not niche because everything you say on your socials, in your books, it relates to anyone that wants to be successful in life.
Yeah, that's where I'm sort of ending up because I've done life coaching. I've got execs on my books as well, and it's because it's the same thing. Executives they need to perform. They've also got self-belief problems and worries and stresses, so it's all the same. Yeah. I literally teach them the same as what a race driver. So if they want the race driver mindset, it's for anything.
Yeah.
Because I've learned all my stuff outside of the sport, actually, a lot of it, then just adapted it.
Yeah. Well, it all correlates. I just think it correlates to any sport, business, everything.
Just a human doing.
It's just being successful, and it makes you a happier person. Also, being productive, developing in life. Yep. Whether it's small wins, big wins, whatever it is. But no, thank you so much for coming on.
Cheers,
I found
guys.
it really interesting, and
thank you.
Wearing it.
Yeah. Well, I can hear
through that because you have to cut out all the breath.